Hopefully keep up. Hopefully we can start new momentum tonight. It's kind of we do it, and we're gonna have to kind of rotate ours in and out to how that way. People think it's tight there. And this last day, I just want to give my thoughts and condolences this morning on the, which includes the head with American Airlines. Was out for Washington DC and keeping my fingers crossed that I don't know anybody on that flight. So far, so good. But just absolutely horrible. I fly in and out of there all the time and flying in and out of there in about a month too. And there, I got 25 years, 137. Yeah, I'm not exactly for sure what the deal is there. The helicopters didn't have a collision system on it. I think they might be flying with night goggles, and I don't know. I just don't get what all that is at night in the busy part of the weeknight. I'm sure there's investigation to figure all that out, but, without the slide, just, I can't see a scenario where there's gonna be an incident. Man, I think impact, I think probably killed everybody. Yes, service members, families, everybody. That. So,
Okay. Okay, well, Monday, I tend to be having a meeting. It's actually a little drum, it's talking about. Yeah. But what is it about Rocky Point?
Hated by coffee, he would have been happy.
Anyway, the gun topic is on you with forward to the parents and class. I mean, for the and I gave you the reasoning, I gave you the class. Probably a very exciting. This week, it's actually more than 5. And I said. I think it's, I feel that discussion, really. Has 4 services, and it's not even, services, the first 3, and it's on the finance. One time, let's see, after the discussion, various specific things are said, the one that I was in, I didn't really, but, religion education. And I have to figure out 17, 46. When it was in the 17. Yeah, that really is.
I know it's time. I got 8,000 in the office, it's not one way, maybe I'll. Say that one more time after my fight. Yes.
That is the last 3 years. Moving real estate, I don't think it's wrong there.
Oh, that's.
Yeah. No, I couldn't do like that.
Yeah, gotcha.
I do have a specific question, but it's probably this way, and we don't want to talk about the other issues in this. Right, that's all.
Well, also Monday after our meeting with serving kind of election. Yes, there. After that, I came back and worked in the office for a while and the police came by. Talked about the sketching that's in the cold weather itself is and how the fire department. Tuesday, met with him, just regarding that of the stores and how they operate. And Wednesday was hanging the evening. When we had the executive Tuesday is to that a board and that a cover the certain parts of. And the operation. We discussed finances and ridership and goals and planning. One of the biggest problems with skill have is hiring drivers. And now down a couple of either need the drivers without getting tried to have an application. 4 maybe training and for that for yeah. And they are working on better promotions for these areas on the federal road. Here's some things that where is it? I don't know, you can try to get the word out so often. And it's yeah, space station reach on the 20th that we had cut off some of the yeah, using that one of the governmental.
Well, there's some scenarios talk about, they're sitting on these students.
Yeah.
We're gonna be always in that.
That's. Yeah, yeah. The big, like, big safety is this kind of thing. Yeah.
They're gonna go running all over the city again anyway. If they do.
Yeah, that's what you're gonna stay in.
That's. And one of them is set up a restaurant. What's your. That's gonna be the out. And then also a second time. This is one guy sleeps just. And the the other thing they did say was they wanted to thank Kevin for doing their law. So yes. They're in the stuff, the stuff season. Probably going to got several times there. Yeah, again, last time, that's going to be the weekend. You know, the different thing. I know. Did you see? I think hopefully. Hoping, after he just time was running out. He was over standing right on the line in front of there. And he gets caught the ball, turned around and threw it, went right through. The coach was standing right beside him. He went,
He shot that thing from Hayes.
he just walked out. He almost walked that down. He just things all through and caught it and turned around and just hit it right. And their coach, he's but he's but. This is not going to go well today. That's all I got. First time we have Mr. Committee right off, part-time council, the charges and tests.
We're gonna make a motion, right off the park fund, accounts receivable charges access to the city of Manhattan for, secret parks maintenance, representing the amount of $1,395.98, 2024.
It leaves the second right off the park from the county to see the charges to the city of Manhattan, people parking. And now there's $1,395.
Like, it's the grade was that.
That's an idea.
We are taking questions from Carla Harris, Chancellor, Administrative Analyst, Lundy, can you accept it? New hire, we need to do that. New hire, we said, in terms of topic, we learn new hire.
Yeah, that was.
If you have new hire, yeah, yeah, I mean, yeah. What? So,
He's laughing about.
that's what I assumed. That's usual taking place. We're like, yeah, the meeting sections are using energy, Good. What time is that? Oh, that everybody's getting on the meeting. They wanted to be.
Okay, our meeting was on Wednesday, not on Wednesday. And Tuesday, I feel like, oh,
Get that rain, my messy road is just gonna be extra messy.
Well, they talked about, and we're not gonna get it, some other areas south, that heavy rain, they said. It's a little melted on top, but there's a frozen layer in between it. If we got a lot of rain, it's gonna run off, it's not gonna.
Oh, yeah, that's what I mean. It is just gonna be a
There's
mess.
a slick layer on top that's melted, but underneath it's still.
It's still frozen underneath there, yeah.
Gonna be a lot of runoff, but
It will be a mass on our road. But I'm not gonna curse the rain as many dry years as we had there at rail for a while. Yeah, the women's game was nationally televised tonight.
Oh, is it really?
That's what they said.
Tuesday night I had Raleigh City meeting. Yeah, 470 numbers of snow they hauled out to the landfill. Get all this stuff cleared out of town.
That's an unexpected cost.
Yeah.
Kind of dumped it in the reservoir. That would have been good, though. They're down on water. I guess it has salt in it.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of it gonna be going into the reservoir anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Be melting and this runoff of this rain.
Yeah.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Parker, County Counselor. And I have two items at the 9 o'clock spot today on the agenda. The first being the standard administrative work session for the counselor's office. And really don't have much set except to stand for questions on the work session. We have an awful lot going on with our office. We're getting a lot done, but most of it is coming up on agendas that are forthcoming. That's the nice part about being the county counselor, is that we get to kind of work in the background and help all the department heads do their thing. So that's sometimes how things work. So I don't have anything specific to bring up from a work session perspective, except to stand for questions. Anything right now comes up? Well, good. Well, the next thing, moving right along, would be a request from the city of Manhattan for a permanent drainage easement and a couple of temporary construction easements to allow them to do some improvements to the ball fields and tennis courts over in Seco Park. I looked at them from a legal perspective. They're pretty standard. And then Director of Public Works Ellerman took a look at them and made sure that they're not interfering with any improvements that we have existing over there. And I separately forwarded to each commissioner the aerial that shows where they're at. And I glanced at that and it seemed fairly innocuous. And we can certainly make that available. It's basically just a depiction of what's described in the easements. And so it looks pretty standard, and I would recommend that we grant them to allow the city to move forward with their improvements. John, did you have anything to add?
I remember we had a work session or something on that. Didn't Wyatt come in and discuss it? I say late last summer or something, so it's not new. Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate the picture. I was just curious, you know.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
No, that was an oversight on my behalf. I should have thought, I was so focused on the lead, seeing this is hazard being an attorney. It's like, well, I care about this document. And you guys actually care about practical things like what are we creating in this?
I couldn't get mine to print.
Oh. I got one to print, but haven't had a chance to look at it yet. But I remember they brought in a PowerPoint. So yeah. Okay. Well, anybody have anything else? No? Make a motion to approve granting the drainage and sewage utility easement and temporary easements to the city of Manhattan and authorize board chairman McKinley to execute said easements.
I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve granting the drainage and stormwater utility easements and temporary easements to the city of Manhattan. Authorize chairman to sign that document. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair, please sign.
Thank you, commissioners.
Commissioner, you have a bid opening at 9:20 with, is Evan gonna be here or are you pinch hitting? You may need to be here, but gotcha. He's not on here. Sounds good.
Sir.
Yeah, I think you need to have some areas. Oh, it's not about the world. No.
You might want to grab the box out there, John,
Thank you.
with the executive session.
Oh,
You already done that up again. Thank you.
oh my gosh, you're too much.
Nine twenty.
Yes, we do.
Go upstairs or? Oh,
I'm right here. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I know what I'm gonna do. There's no football to watch this weekend. It's that withdrawal.
Don't they have that global view?
Yeah, but it's like X Games type stuff, they do challenges and they don't even play a game anymore. It's flag football.
Yeah.
It's like a vacation for them or something. My Netflix account's going up $2. Maybe I ought to start using it. Yeah, I need to get on your radar and maybe for your office and meet and chat. I could swing by after work Tuesday or Wednesday if that works. Right around 4.
Tuesday with us.
Okay, I'll do that. You go write them down before I forget. Oh, okay. It opened, right? Or what are we spending money on? Oh, yeah, we need to do that. It's for a ditch liner for lagoon shore stabilization. Sounds complicated and it's been. All right, first one I have is from Buyer Construction. Right here in Manhattan. Okay, it looks like there's an alternate 1 and an alternate 2 here, just to give you a heads up. Ditch liner 1 says D56. That's jargon I'm probably not going to understand. That's all right. Stuff you engineers do to throw all the rest of us common people off. Says vegetation attached. I don't know what that means either, so go with that. It says quantity 800 tons. Unit price $38.55. For a total of $30,840. Bid number 2. Same thing, D50 6-inch ditch liner, vegetation attached. Hayden Quarry, I don't know what that means, Tabor Valley. 800 tons on that one as well. Showing a unit price of $31 for a net total of 24,800 even. Just looking to see here.
Both of those were under buyer construction, right?
Yes. Say anything else is large importance for this. I will move it along. Yeah.
Bid folks from Buyer Construction. Alternate 1. They have marked off 5-inch ditch liner and put in 6-inch. Unit price of $38.55, a total of $30,840. Alternate 2, also they crossed that 5 but 6-inch. Unit price of $31 for a total of $24,800. That 2 different types of rock, was that what?
They could be 2 different types. So for D50, I think there's 5 and 6-inch, just depends on the gradations. And then the alternates may be for delivery, and then pick up by county. The difference.
Oh, yeah, 'cause it says here, yeah, under alternate 1 is delivered to location. And alternate 2 is not delivered.
That means we have to pick it up. Yeah, that makes a difference.
Where is it? Where is this going?
Terra Heights Lagoon.
Okay, thank you. Next bid I have is Ham Construction out of Perry, Kansas. Same thing there too. They crossed out the D5 and went with the D6. There'll be an alternate 1 and alternate 2 here as well. 800 tons on the first one. Unit price is $53 for a grand total of 42,400 even. Alternate 2 is something Fob Woodbine Quarry. I put that in parentheses. I'm just noting that. 800 tons as well. Net price, unit price, excuse me, $35 for a total of $28,000 even.
Now, are those the same type of thing with delivered or not delivered?
Yeah, that's
That one.
It's not FOB,
Delivered, yeah, delivered to,
Quarry.
yeah. First one is delivered to a location is specified,
Okay,
and then the second one is not.
not so.
Not,
Okay. We have
sorry, be delivered to that quarry, and you'd have to pick it, correct? Yes, yeah.
And the next bid from Ham Incorporated. Ditch liner in depth of 6 inches. The unit price on the ultimate 1 is $53 for a total of $42,400. Alternate 2, which is not delivered, $35 for a unit price and $28,000 even to total.
Thank you.
Well, I would make a motion that we return this to staff for their recommendation.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to turn the bids to staff for a review and recommendations. All in favor?
Aye.
Homework.
Well, I can't report everybody in Senator Moran's office is okay as of this morning. So,
Commissioners at 9:30, we had a presentation of certificate of appreciation.
morning.
You have that certificate. Yeah.
We'll do it on today.
You going to tonight's game?
Jen said it was raining. She didn't want to go sit wet in the game.
And then walk out getting wet again.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
Did I say best chance rain? I think after 3.
well, then for one of that, K-State weather guy saying he thinks it's gonna be later than that.
Oh, really? Yeah, I've heard any updates.
For the heavy, well, it's for the heavy stuff.
Yeah.
It's it'll probably overnight, the heavier stuff.
Well, that would melt all the snow in my backyard and a lot going to the creek. And that's going to flood probably.
Yeah, and that's what they talk about, a lot of things.
Mhm.
The ground's still frozen, it's not gonna sink in.
Not gonna sink in.
No,
That snow's gonna run off.
Yeah.
It's melted a lot back there.
Yeah.
When the drifts are really high. It'd be nice to capture some of that because I didn't have any salt or anything. in it.
Mhm.
Use it for summer water.
Yeah,
I don't know how you keep it.
yeah, it'd be running so hard, you know.
Good. Show you up there.
And this certificate of appreciation, the Board of Commissioners of Rutherford County actually proudly acknowledges Joe Gilroth for an extraordinary level of commitment and service to the citizens of Rutherford County by serving 6 years and 9 months as member of the and vice chair of the Rutherford County Planning Board, the Board of Zoning People. Thanks for all your work. And also get your name tag.
It's a trick one.
Oh.
Thank you, Joe. We appreciate your service on the planning board.
Next, Commissioner, you have Anna Burson at 9:35.
Morning, Commissioners, Ann Burson, the Riley County Appraiser's Office. I'm here, just, what I'm gonna do is just provide a quick overview on what we're here to discuss. Basically KSA 791613 and Riley County policy. So periodically, the county will receive inquiries from property owners whose buildings have been damaged or destroyed by a catastrophic event. These inquiries are typically directed to the appraiser's office, as property owners often assume these changes to property condition within a current calendar year will impact the appraised value of the property or the taxes over that current year. However, this assumption is incorrect. Kansas operates as a tax and earner state, meaning that a property's value is assessed as of January 1, with those taxes becoming due on December 20th of that same year. Consequently, any changes to the property's condition after January 1st do not affect the assessed value, the appraised value, or the taxes due for that year. In 2013, Kansas legislature enacted KSA 791613. The statute permits the abatement of taxes for buildings or improvements that are destroyed or substantially damaged by natural disasters or fire. To qualify for such abatement, The cost of restoring the structure must equal or exceed 50% of the market value prior to the damage. The decision to grant tax abatements under the statute is at the discretion of the county commission. Historically, Raleigh County has opted to not grant such abatements due to concerns regarding equity and fairness among taxpayers. County staff is seeking guidance from our commission on whether this policy should be reevaluated and potentially revised. There's currently no formal written policy in place. Regardless of the commission's decision, it's essential to establish a written policy to provide clarity and direction for both citizens and county staff when addressing these issues. We reached out to other jurisdictions regarding policies and procedures and received a handful of responses. Should the commission determine to revisit granting such abatements, staff will prepare a draft policy for commission's review and comment based on several policies we received. Staff respectfully request guidance from the commission on whether it wishes to consider granting tax abatement pursuant to KSA 791613 or to continue adhering to county's current unwritten policy, which maintains the assessment of property taxes based on the property's condition as of January 1st, irrespective of any subsequent damage or destruction occurring later in the year. In the packet, we included a copy of the actual statute as it is written. We included the PBD guidance, which is really just the legislative summary from the years this was enacted. Initially, it was just a residential dwelling or home, and then in 22, it was revised to include buildings, not just residences. So,
Well, it was buildings, it was other ag-related items, fences, had to do with the wildfire that we had out west in 21. I think that's why they revised it. But what are other counties around us doing that you're aware of?
it's not an appraisal issue, so a lot of times it'll start in the appraisal office. If it's determined it's destroyed, there's a calculation for how many years it wasn't, or how many days within the year it wasn't destroyed. If it exceeds that 50%, and it's an abatement, that would be processed. So, I mean, that's a short summary.
That's already in place, or?
They all have a little different policy and procedure on how they do it. And so, the PBD has a basic little form they can fill out, which they have to submit pictures, they have to submit estimates and different things like that. Some require it, some don't. It's really just what are we gonna do? The big concern is, when you have a big event that involves an entire neighborhood, if we're doing it on an individual level, and then you have a massive event, where do you draw your line? I mean, that's kind of.
So what is defined as a catastrophic?
Exactly.
What's the definition of catastrophic? Is it an
It's
individual
listed.
fire, or does it have to be like a tornado?
It can be either one.
I think Kansas does define, and they define,
It's defined in here. I saw it somewhere.
they define wind too, don't they?
Yeah.
Those were the three.
Let's see where it was.
Flood's a whole separate thing.
Well, it's good to know that it can't be just an individual.
Right.
Yeah,
But that's all I wanted clarification on.
yeah,
Yeah,
it can be an individual
Mhm.
fire.
Basically, any catastrophe that can happen to us.
destroyed or substantial damage by natural disasters or fire.
Or fire, yeah, natural disaster or fire.
Yeah, go ahead.
But that doesn't take into consideration like homeowners insurance, if they cover it or not cover it.
It doesn't take any of that into consideration.
It should
doesn't
be, I
matter.
would think. If they-
Wouldn't you take insurance, after the fact, wouldn't you take the insurance opinion in mind when developing some type of policy for this?
I mean, I
I mean, if
don't,
they come in here and say it's a total loss, it's gone, that changes the equation.
We're going
How
to
you look at it.
reimburse you X
Right.
amount of dollars for that,
I can't speak to insurance policy. I can speak
Well, I
to-
know, but it,
But-
I can speak to the appraisal side of it, and one of the things on the appraisal side is if it's happened this year, like, okay, so 24. If there was a fire in July of 2024 on a home, it won't affect the 2024 value, but we're gonna go out as the appraiser throughout later in the year and see, okay, was it demolished? is it being repaired? And we're gonna take that into consideration for January 1, 2025 value. But to go backwards, that's not something, like as the appraisal side of it. This statute will give you that authority to make those decisions if the insurance opinion is something you want, but who's gonna manage that? Like
Yeah.
following up with
sure.
insurance companies or.
It's in the evaluation of 25 is for the taxes that are paid at the end of 25.
Yes,
right, At December and then.
So we're gonna
December and
base,
May or whatever it is, or
Yes.
March and 26.
yes, the first payment's due in December.
Yeah.
So if something was destroyed in July completely by fire of 2024, right? And by the end of this, like it's January 1, 2025, it was leveled. For 2025, that house isn't going to be there, or that building is not going to be there.
But they'd still pay taxes. And this year, this sort of July, they'd still pay the taxes in December and March
For the 24, yeah,
Because it's really, they're paying them
in arrears.
a year
That's
behind,
right.
basically. And
That
that's,
is correct.
but it's, and like I say, if it's totally destroyed, what if it's fired in February, but it's rebuilt in November, then they don't get anything.
No.
Is there can you make up something saying that if it was out of commission for a certain percentage of the year, I mean, can you use that to
Not
adjust?
for appraisal, no, but we
Well,
have
but I
to,
mean, for this adjustment, they're saying, can you say, well, it was there in January, but they didn't have it for 9 months.
that's the abatement piece on
That's
the
what this
appraisal
is
side. Yeah, I can't do anything on the appraisal
Yeah, you
side.
can't, but
of
that's
it.
what this abatement.
But that's
is
what
talking
the
about, is
abatement
to
is-
allow.
Allowing that authority for you guys to abate based on, okay, as of June, it was
Yeah,
It was
what
substantially
percentage of the year
destroyed.
it was gone, it was
Right.
not usable.
but that
Well, you
doesn't,
should be able to have a formula in place there that takes into account the 6 or 8 months or.
Yeah,
So why are we even discussing it?
because it isn't a policy yet. To see, that's something, do we want to put that policy into effect? Because the appraisal can't do that.
I understand that, but I mean, you're shaking your head no over there, so. Who's giving us what information so we can make a policy?
To me, appraisal law covers all of this. I mean, the appraisal law is very clear. I mean, same as your situation with the fire. When I built my current house I live in, I remember the appraiser's office and I was honest with him, it was all through that year and we moved in just before the beginning of the next year. And of course, I knew the guys, the assistant appraiser, he says, well, if you say January 1, you don't get taxed fully on that. But I was honest and we moved in at the end of December. And so while that house was not inhabitable that entire year, I got taxed the full value of that house for the entire year. And so that's why we've never had a policy is all of these things take into place. And unfortunately, I can also tell you about a story of a property I owned in Manhattan that got burnt by fire. And so the year that it was fully functional, I got the full tax bill. The year that it wasn't, they made adjustment based on the condition of the property in the appraisal process. And so that's why we've never done it. It becomes an equity thing and timing thing. And so, this of course comes about because an individual has a situation right now. That's why it got brought up. And so I think clearly the appraisal process and laws account for as good as you can. If you talk about fair, try getting fair in every situation.
I understand.
So I've been through multiples personally on those and understand it very well.
I think that I wanted everybody else to talk, right? Because some of what you're asking is the legalities of how the policy would work. Okay. And without getting in depth into what all the other jurisdictions around the state of Kansas that we were able to gather policies from, and it was just a handful, right? There is discretion, right, that the commission would have, right? The thing that's, and some of the specific questions, if the commission were to want us to explore, what would such a policy look like? We could bring back something that the commission could consider that would be able to address some of what's been brought up today, right? The challenge with something like this is that every time you have a loss, right, insurance doesn't cover 100%.
Right.
So what is fair and what isn't, right? And right, this all pulls at the heartstrings because who doesn't feel terrible when somebody loses, right, their property to fire, right? It's a terrible fiscal event, right? The challenge would be how do you decide, and this is what I haven't been able to gather so far, and I haven't dug through each policy, right? And we could do that. But it's kind of Kate bar the door, right? Once you open up this, you're either going to do it or you're not, if that makes sense. Now we can try to build in some considerations about like what the commission has identified. Has the property been brought back online in the year? That gets into some really specific, what can we and what can we not do under state law, right? What I can say at this point is, if the commission were to want to direct our office, right? And by our office, I mean, not just me, but also it'd be in conjunction with budgeting planning, right? And
The treasurer's office probably for tax.
You know, our office, we're the ones that do the tax.
it would, I mean, and I think from the perspective of, right, our office
Sorry, clerk's office, sorry.
You're fine. We would take the lead, right, in developing, right, a model policy that then the commission could explore if it's something that they wish to do, right? I think we all, when we sat around and we looked at it, we said, before we even go down that route, it's probably a good idea to come to the commission and see if this is something just offhand that we're prepared to look at as a county. And as your attorney, right, I looked at it and it said, basically the statute said, we at least need to consider these requests in some way, whether we grant them or not. Right, we can either make an across the board determination based off of what we think is fair out of tax policy, or we can adopt a written policy that gets more down into the weeds to look at each individual circumstance. And so that's really what's before you all today. Do you want to have an across the board policy, or do you want us to come back with something that then we can work with the commission to tailor to try to come up with some criteria, knowing that this is kind of a sticky wicket, but that's what's being asked. Did I just confuse everybody?
I don't think
Confuse
so. I
myself.
don't think so.
What you're saying is we look at each property individually.
Yeah,
basically.
we would look at each property individually,
There you go.
right? That's what
do
it's,
that.
what's that?
I don't particularly want to
I
do
don't
that.
usually either. I think you need
Maybe
to have
that's something, if we're going to do something, it needs to be a policy that.
If it's a
It's
whole
consistent across the
neighborhood,
board.
that's tough.
Right?
Because you're gonna get every story in the book on that, and
I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, I'm
Yeah.
just trying to spin the wheels here in real time, but they're not really spinning, by the way, but
Well, join the club.
Mine either.
Not that grinding noise.
yeah, screech like chalk on a chalkboard.
And not to steal Rich's thunder, but that's why I wanted to set back, because we started to get over into the law and how the mechanics work, but this is really a policy question. Because I can tell you legally that no matter what criteria we come up with in this policy, basically every property is gonna have an argument to qualify. And so then it's kind of like, do you really want to do this or do you not? What's fair? And in a tax and arrears state, that's why we have our appraiser, right, who's saying, right, yeah, we pay 2025 taxes at the end of 2025, but it's based off of what, was in place as of January 1. And then we look at it again on a yearly basis, and it does kind of have some equity built into it because it works the same way forever.
Mhm.
And
Well, here's a thought, before we go diving into policy, let's see what policies there are out there. Discuss those in a work session, see how we want to proceed.
that would make, we could do that.
Yes, better details of what other option, I guess with other options others have figured out.
Or not figured out either, or yeah.
I think what we could do that might help inform the discussion And this is why I wanted to have, people that crunch numbers for a living versus just an attorney, right? Take a look at it, is we could come up with a summary. I mean, these policies are forever long. So we could come up with, they're like 20 pages. We could come up with a summary in a couple of paragraphs, how each of them work. And then I think that might inform discussion, right? Based off of, is this a business we want to get into, right? And again, we don't have a ton to go off of, right? And as legal counsel, I'm not telling you it's a good idea or a bad idea. I think this is total practicalities issue. And I don't know where you start to draw the line, but we could explore where we might be able to draw the line. It just gets tough.
I just want to make sure if I'm diving off a diving board, there's actually water in the pool.
That's a good idea.
Like I said, just see what others, like I said, on one hand, it does seem. Like I said, because it's in arrears, I understand that if it's whatever it was in January first,
Yeah,
that's what you pay the tax at the end of the year. Just have to explain that to Peter.
Yeah.
But if, like I say, if next year it was gone for half a year, you make an adjustment. But again, the definitions then, or
Yep.
the details of what gets you out of that.
That's where the devil is in the statute. What we'll do is we'll put together,
That's where the attorneys get involved.
trust me, we're not, the statute.
You need the
has-
tax attorneys involved. We're really in trouble.
Ugh.
Yeah,
There's some guidance about what cutoffs are in the statute, and we can bring that up as well as part of it. But I think it would be important to have a summary. And then also we'll emphasize, right, how difficult it would be to, I'm not saying it's necessarily possible, but how difficult it would be to come up with something. Now, I can tell you it causes headaches for staff, but that's not a good reason to not have a policy, right? What I think the bigger question is this in the abstract something that seems workable, right, long-term across the board? And so we can come up with summaries that hopefully we'll get it to 3 pages.
It's not something we want to do quickly. I think we want to investigate it. And ahead.
I'm just clarifying expectations of me in this process right now. Who's writing the summaries? Because I can tell you, I don't have the resources to write the summaries of all of what we received.
Brian brought it up.
Okay.
voluntary.
Just making sure I understand.
You're
I can provide guidance and as far as like with what I've received and shared, and I'd be absolutely happy to guide the process, especially if it's my office that has to initiate any of this. And so those are discussions that we can continue to have. I just want to make sure that I understand what you're expecting at this point.
It's worth investigating, but it's not something we want to do quickly.
Not a high priority.
Yes.
And I would just emphasize Kansas law currently takes care of all of this.
I don't think so.
It does. I've been through it twice.
Well, is there a mechanism, and this is just throwing something out there, that if the buildings, houses or whatever are destroyed, they would still pay taxes on the land itself?
Mhm. Mhm.
That's how,
The land,
that's part of that
Yes.
whole thing. Okay,
And if it's just one building of 5 buildings, it would be the one building would be the only piece of it.
the only piece of it, you would have to piece it out then.
Yes.
Well, they do piece it out on the appraisal sheet. It is list, all the buildings are listed out separately.
There's a formula to determine the percentage that particular structure makes up of the total tax bill. And there are formulas in there that can help identify that.
And one of the other things we'll be sure to articulate I'm mindful of our timing, but one of the other things we'll be sure to articulate in the little summary, right, is how, as Rich identified, how Kansas law has been set up to, right, address because part of it's an education piece, right? Explaining to our citizens, okay, we're taxed at the end of the year as of the property for the beginning of the year. And so there's also a flip side benefit to that, right? If I have, I have property that as of January first is not really improved, and then I get to occupy it as of September 1 with a certificate of occupancy for the entire year 2025, I'm paying for it at like 30% of its value. And as a former
Idle thing?
Mhm.
We gotta.
You gotta get us live.
Oh, okay.
You are back.
Yeah.
I'll move the Board of County Commissioners come out of executive session.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded, the Board of County Commissioners come out of executive session, all in favor?
Aye.
Also move that the record reflect action shall be taken consistent with the consensus reached in executive session.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded, the record reflect action shall be taken consistent with the consensus reached in executive session, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next, you have Danny Creek up after a short break.
Yeah.
It's so nice and warm in here.
I didn't know.
Ah, see it.
Way too late.
After you said that, I thought, well, I thought changed results.
Oh.
Diane.
I'm good.
Good.
How are you?
We're good after I made it through the pea soup thick fog on the way in. I
no.
Yeah, it was foggy this
was
morning.
like, oh, it was the whole way. Yeah.
Even at 8:30.
My 6-year-old said, we're in the clouds. I'm like, "Yeah."
Usually in the fog, you get some breaks, but
Yeah,
they're usually
usually, yeah.
consistent, Like, oh my God.
I was thinking of, from my thought before, you could just barely see the building. The highway, you can barely see the building.
I'm sorry. Why is this
We're just hoping everyone was staying on their side of the road.
This is fog.
The sound does cut out. Something. Rescue rangers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that was a good discussion.
Need a recess.
Oh, yeah, I'll recess, make a motion, we recess as the Board of County Commission and move to the Board of County Health.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded to recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as the Board of Health, all in favor?
Aye.
Well, good morning, Commissioners. Diane Creek, Health Department Director. I'm here to talk to you about our fiscal analyst position that's currently open. I met specifically with Human Resources and we revised the job description to get it up to date since that position hadn't been looked at since 1996, I believe. So
Wow.
Yeah, so the job description needed updated, obviously, so we worked on that. And then we started talking about where that position really kind of needs to be housed under. Health department funding is pretty complicated and there's a lot of grants, there's insurance, there's a lot of expenses. So it's a very complicated system. And so I've got enough financial knowledge to be dangerous, but I'm not an accountant. And so in my mind, in my opinion, this position really needs to be underneath somebody who's trained in finances. So we talked about whether we could put this position underneath the finance director for the county, which also incorporates us into one Riley County, so that we're not sitting there with a separate person trying to supervise that fiscal analyst. So then we thought that was a good idea, talked to Brittany about it, and she thought that was a good idea. It'll make everything consistent between the health department and the way the other departments, manage their funding. So I'm just asking for your discussion on this. At this point, we can't advertise until we get your approval. So, whenever you guys are ready to vote on it and approve it, that would be great. But for now, if you just want to have a discussion on it, that would be fine.
This position still be located at the health department?
Yes, it needs to be out there.
Because I'm sure they work day to day with all the different
Yes.
divisions out there, the different branches,
Yeah,
all that.
100%.
But do any other departments, does community corrections have a finance person? I assume that they don't.
No, I actually.
Because there's the other one that's complicated, but different, because the state has different
Exactly.
fiscal years than we do. And they have a lot of different grants coming through.
Yes, which is a challenge, right? So the community corrections actually has an administrative assistant too. So her job duties are admin in the office and she assists the director. But actually, I went ahead and looked at all the departments. The only department that has positions besides the health department that are fiscal responsibilities, Public Works. And they obviously, outside of personnel, they're going to be our biggest expense on multi-layers. And so I don't see they're changing at all. I mean, they have administrative manager, then they have their administrative and fiscal analyst under that administrative manager, whereas it's not all reporting directly to the director. So I think they have a good management system there and they don't have as complicated of funding as the health department does. And so we work very hand in hand with community corrections, kind of with that pair. But they
That's what I was saying. I knew Public Works had a big
yes,
thing, but they don't have so
they
many
have more than
battles.
one, yes, yeah.
They don't have some of the battles that corrections and health have with different fiscal years by different funding
Exactly.
people, which
Yeah, and they've got
It's a
both
battle.
coming in and going out is a little bit more than, because, I think a big part of ours is personnel, like a big chunk of hers is personnel and it's grant funded and it's got the fiscal year and it's been out year and it is complicated. And you're right, community corrections is also complicated, but they don't have anyone dedicated to finance. So it's really now a team project.
Aren't we already working together consistently already, or no?
No, I would say no. I would say we are now, but there's not a person in place. And I guess what we've learned is that it is really a totally different skill set to manage the fiscal responsibility and manage the health department services. And what we've come to, because we've been just having all the supervisors and Diane and us just sitting down basically every day for an hour. It's just not, it's not in their wheelhouse, and that's what makes sense, but it's even more pervasive than we think. And it is Brittany's skill and she has all the authority of grants anyhow. Every grant is supposed to go through her office. And that's just makes sense then that the person day to day logistically managing it is following the direction of the person who's responsible for it.
but even if this position stayed within the health department, it'd still be coordinated with Brittany.
Well, we wanted to coordinate, yes.
That's kind of my
Well,
point.
I mean, that'd be part of the job description, I guess, would be that they work in coordination, you know.
I think part of my concern is you guys have heard me say before about the bandwidth of the director and how much they have. So she's got 5 full divisions and then the education and the opioids and drugs all reporting to her. And the fiscal analyst is completely kind of a different, it supports all those programs, but it takes a different kind of oversight. And and Diane knows that I don't think it's her capability. It's just the amount of one person being able to do that multifaceted.
Rich.
You bring up a good point, Greg. You know, isn't that required already? And yes, it was, and it was
It wasn't
previously
done.
for years.
Yeah.
It wasn't done, but it was supposed to be.
And it was done in a manner that didn't follow county policies. I mean, all of us are aware of all we've gone through. Numbers were getting done somehow, not according to policy and appropriately. And so this is a way, as Elizabeth or Diane said, all one organization, all one county, following all the same policies. It is a huge endeavor with all the grants that they have and the crossing of fiscal years. And Diane can speak to it directly because she has spent hours on just one segment's budget, just one division's budget with Brittany and Elizabeth recently.
I want to point out too that with that person or the position before, how it was structured, that was their go-to person for everything. So they were asking if they were allowed to get, purchase, XYZ within their grant. And I think that's something we definitely want to get away from as well, because we want the director to be making those decisions and this person to know the grants. But this person should have never been giving authorization on what is an allowable expense within the grant. Whereas if they were housed under me, Diane and I could work together and really focus in on, okay, what is allowable, what is not, and then help that person along.
And I think the reason that happened is because there's an information gap. So because the director didn't know the answer, the fiscal analyst asked the director didn't necessarily know, so then it just became that responsibility. Whereas if they ask this supervisor, the supervisor will say, okay, in policy, I will contact the director, here's the resources.
Yeah.
But worse yet, what happens in those positions is anyone gets asked, the department head or supervisor, do you know? They didn't say no. They said, oh, do it this way. Or yeah, that's the right way to do it, not knowing if that's the case or not.
Yeah.
And it's just a service to other departments. That's all our organization is for HR, payroll, and accounts payable.
Right.
We are a service to those departments so they can focus on pushing snow, so they can focus on appraisal, so they can focus on what they are hired to do. We are hired to know finances more in detail.
I would point out, and maybe you all know this, but in large corporations, large companies, this is actually a pretty common model. And I don't know if you've ever experienced it elsewhere, but they just basically call them business services or business partners. And so they may put like HR or finance or, administrative assistants, and they report back to that department that has the expertise, but they physically work in one department. So they become experts on their finance or HR, but they still have that center of knowledge for where that skill set is.
Well, is there any way to combine the job duties from corrections and this and have one fiscal director over them?
No, I'm sorry, no.
No?
Yeah, I don't think so either.
So we have to have 2 people to do that.
Well,
We don't have one.
we don't have
corrections
people in
already.
the community corrections, but the department head and the admin assistants who are doing the work of a fiscal position. Maybe let's wait to speak.
So the director does more of the hands-on in that department.
Personnel, admin,
That's written in their
programming.
responsibilities.
And that's why that one's organized
Yeah,
differently than.
They probably do not have enough all year long for a separate admin assistant and fiscal person. And I'm not saying that they don't get overwhelmed at times.
But there's
we
also
could pull that out.
pretty straightforward. I mean, and health changes every year.
I think at the federal level, it's gonna really change here real quick.
Yeah, it's a lot to keep up with.
like, to be honest, I'm struggling to do my job and this
Yeah.
job, like, and I'm working extensive hours to do this, and so that's why I would highly recommend you don't combine community
Fine,
corrections and
okay.
health department.
And they're just different tracks of thought. Yeah.
And it's impacting the entire staff. I mean, it's taking my bandwidth, it's taking Elizabeth's, it's taking Brittany's, but when it takes on Brittany's, then it's taken on Michelle's, and then it's taken on Ashland's. We just met last week to give more to Ashland because there is so much on Brittany and Michelle's plate. They're not getting their day to day or keeping up with it as much as they would like to, because we have a lot to get straightened out. And it takes a lot of time, commissioners. I've been in this type of position in the county. I was the accountant in the treasurer's office for years. There's a lot of numbers to look at countywide.
I think Doug could
There's no
figure it
doubt the position's needed. It's just for how it's.
Yeah, I don't want to eliminate the position.
Well, Diane
I just-
would say the same. Her staff, it's been overwhelmed
Yeah.
about this.
Yeah, it's huge.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not, that's never a thought that's crossed my mind. It's just, I guess the positioning, I just having a hard time understanding how this hasn't already been working already. I don't,
I think that's the key. I don't think it is working. I think there's a knowledge gap. There's a skill set of managing health services and community needs, and there's a separate skill set to managing spreadsheets and fiscal numbers. And there's been a gap, and the right person, like, we didn't have the right person connected to give the direction.
okay.
Well,
And
So let me ask a hypothetical question. If we'd had that right person in place, God forbid, we should have been updating the job description to start with.
Well, I don't mean the fiscal analyst, I mean the supervisor. If the fiscal analyst didn't have the right person to ask to get direction on fiscal policy.
Well, if you had the right person in place and they were doing the job and the sets of duties appropriate with updates, then would that change of departments be required?
So that, we thought that through, and I would say yes, because again, I think that the director of the health department is, first of all, has a huge job with many different facets already. So they already have, it's similar to Rich's, where you've got these kind of similar but completely different programs that she's trying to manage. And then a whole different skill set and policy. You know, she's focused on health, community health, the state policies, CDC, et cetera. And then this is completely different fiscal policies internally and at the state and federal.
But it's still health related. So
It's not.
basically,
I mean, it funds health, but it's funding. It's
It's
just,
numbers.
yeah,
Numbers.
Yeah. it funds, it's a funding source, but
but
it's
where's
not
the
a
funding
program.
going?
Right. I mean, I'm not saying, but her staff is expert on the programs. They've got
That's
that
not what
figured
I'm
out.
saying. In order to have the programs, you have to have the funding. Where should the funding be located at that? I mean, shouldn't the director also have some responsibility to that?
Well, and I think I still will, and because
Yeah.
I mean, now I don't know, once I retire someday. I don't know who the next person would be, but for me, I'm not gonna let up. I will, and Brittany can attest to this, I do not. Even if Brittany manages this fiscal analyst position, I will not be disengaged at all, not at all. I will be, because usually I get into those things and because ultimately I look at myself as being responsible. And whether she supervises that position or not, it's health department centered and it's health department funding. And I'm the director of the health department and I'm responsible.
That's kind of my
With
point.
our other services, though, you are responsible to make the programs run, so you have to have the correct funding. Everything you
Right.
do has to be correct for you to succeed.
Right.
So that's, I guess, the model we're using is that we are the service of that skill set. But yeah, I mean, obviously without funding, our programs can't succeed. So that's why we went physically sitting there. So day-to-day contact, management, processing is happening with the right oversight.
It really, if we could co-supervise, co-manage, Brittany could manage the actual, numbers, I guess, the accounting piece of it. I'm not gonna not be involved. I guarantee you, I will not be not
Well,
involved.
I would hope so, because it's your funding. You should be involved.
100%, yes, 100%.
And that's kind of my point here. I still think that should be under the umbrella of the health department.
Which is why we don't want to physically move it. We want it literally right in
Yeah,
the space.
it's gonna
where
be in the
gonna
same
impacting.
office, in my area, the administrative area. Yeah, that's not moving at all.
We just want to have the right direction to be compliant with policy and, state federal law and all those things, which it's just been challenging. I mean, we haven't had that resource happening.
I just don't see what the difference is.
I don't either.
If, how, because she's gonna have to work with Brittany, or he or she, whoever, the person's gonna have to work with Brittany. No matter whether Brittany's her boss or not.
I think that's.
And I'm not trying to say that Brittany's not capable of supervising
No,
or anything, but and
I think that's
updating
proven
I
not
think
to be
also
true.
updating the job description and modernizing that from. I can't even do the math. 30 years ago, we'll just say, okay,
That's
about,
all I am.
yeah, okay, so
Oh,
that puts it in perspective. Probably does a lot more to help that particular position and logistically how it works than we probably realize at this point in time as well.
I mean, I guess my thought is that should have always, should in the future, but it has not been happening. And so things have been submitted that you wouldn't know that they're not accurate because you don't have the day-to-day connection to what's actually happening down there.
And I think a really good example is unfortunately OPEI that we just discussed on Monday, right? Like we were not tracking well that the county was funding more than 50%. And that's the same with several of the programs. We are giving more than what we probably, more than we're required to, right? And then also, like, we have never seen on our side the state fiscal year. So this was the first time we have torn apart, including personnel. Like there were personnel numbers that their salary was correct and always funded, but some positions were over 100% funded because this position was doing all of that work. And that's.
I understand that, but you came back through even without the position, actually just being there, whether it's in the health department or not, we're able to come up with that. So even if you have this position back into place, either way you go, you're still going to be doing these things.
That's what
correct?
Brittany's doing the work now.
Right.
So we actually have.
I understand that, but when you get the position back into place, you can still be doing the same thing. Same process you're doing right now, but you have the person in place. My question becomes, does it matter if it's in the health department or the clerks? You're going to be doing the same process anyway.
I don't know. I think it would.
I don't care if it's appraisal, finance, or what. Someone that's doing that task has to have someone over them that understands it's getting done correctly. When you have a department head that says it's too much, don't want it, can't do it. There's reasons why departments get in this shape. There's a reason why budget and finance is under myself, who has an accounting degree. Commissioners made that choice based on it not being there and things not getting done appropriately. This numbers things is more than just numbers, commissioners. It's also policies. Our issue getting to this point wasn't numbers. It was numbers following policy. You have to have the right checks and balances in place. There's a reason why the clerks and treasurer's office have two dual set of books. We're a checks and balance. There's a reason why Brittany does the budget and finance for all offices to be sure everything's consistent, including the commissioners with CIP and general fund. Commissioners, it hasn't worked for decades the way that it's set up. If you want to continue on that path, because who's going to train it? Are you going to train it to the detail that Brittany knows if it's solely under you? And someone that has two supervisors really has no supervisor. That's kind of what got our health department in trouble before when it split between the city and county. There was no true boss. So we will do whatever, but it makes it harder for any department to follow consistent policies within the organization and us to know the devil in the details to be sure it's done appropriately.
But if the problems in the back in previous were because they weren't trying to work with Brittany. But I guess my final thought is that, I mean, I don't see what the difference is, whether they call whether the positions considered part of the clerk of having. If the health department director isn't comfortable with it the way it is, you know, then I think it should, yeah, then I can see, but then written in.
And I guess to that point, this isn't something Rich asked for or Brittany asked for.
No, I
It's
understand.
something, yeah, I just want to be clear, like, this isn't something that anybody's thinking, how can we?
It was my idea.
Yeah, I mean, and looking at it and seeing everything and the things that I've been talking to the previous director about for a year and a half at least, and bandwidth and ability to oversee, and we've talked about it too, ability to oversee new programs. I mean, this seems like the best organizational fit, not because anybody else wanted. Just to, in case that was a concern.
Okay, that's my thought. I don't see what the difference is, but if it makes the department head more comfortable, I'm in favor of it.
Would you guys like to take it back and think about it? I mean, we didn't ask for a vote, but we can come back around, or it's your decision. How would you like to do it?
There is no pre-made sheet to advertise the position. It was solely discussion and to get direction from the board.
Yeah. Yeah, we would stop it right now.
This is the old. Oh,
Yeah, that's the job description.
that's the old one.
No,
That's the-
Oh, that's the new
that's the
one.
count.
That's the one that we're proposing. If you, wherever you approve it, to be honest, that's the one we would propose you.
That's the job it needs to do.
Good job. Yeah, bring it back, yeah.
With a ask for a car, like an ask for request, okay, so.
Sounds good. It's time for
Make a
Anna.
decision now, or we want to make a decision now, or we want to think about it and come back.
It's
I
up
mean,
to
to
you
be honest
guys.
with you, if we're gonna do it later, we might as well just do it now.
Okay, that's what I think too.
And we'll bring back the yellow sheet because we don't
Yeah.
have a yellow sheet
Okay.
to advertise.
I'll do it in that business meeting if you make the decision.
And then consensus is to go ahead and advertise the position as being under budget and finance. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, I'll bring you the yellow sheet just in business section.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we recess as the Board of County Health and reconvene as the Board of County Commission.
I would second that.
And moved and seconded to recess with the Board of Health and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. Anna Burson, the Riley County Appraiser's Office. I'm here with a request to refill residential appraiser 2 position. The residential appraiser 2 position will become vacant on February 7th. This position is crucial to the work of the Riley County Appraiser's Office. I'm requesting permission to post this as soon as possible and fill the position after it becomes vacant. Again, it's vital to the Riley County Appraiser's Office. One of our most crucial times of the year. And maintaining a full staff is going to be critical. We're seeking a candidate with 2 years of experience to refill this position as an appraiser 2. If we do not receive the applicants with the necessary knowledge, skills, and abilities, I would request to refill the position as an appraiser 1. And both descriptions are attached.
You've done that before, right? In the positions that you've had to do one, but have they worked out that you can train them up to a 2?
Yes.
Okay. I thought that had been going on a couple times already.
Yes, sir.
And 2 years is the cutoff between 1 and 2?
Yes.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I just didn't know that, so.
Diana's really thought that through and really scoured a lot of different position descriptions, and it does, to me, seem lengthy too, but after we went through everything that they have to know, it takes that time.
Well, I was thinking that was too short of a time, is what I was thinking. I was thinking the opposite.
Well, I mean, she's done.
That's a
really
lot.
good
No,
job.
I agree 100%.
The 3 is 5 years or more. So there's a bigger gap at that next level.
Oh,
There's
gotcha. Okay,
there's
okay.
so much to learn.
Well, and also the classes,
The
like you know,
coursework, yes.
coursework takes.
The thick coursework would take almost 2 years.
Yeah. Anna's team is actually one of the best at mentoring people through career progression. They lay it out at the beginning. They talk to them about what they can achieve and let them know what they have to do to get there. It's really well thought out.
Okay, let's see. Well, there's nothing else on that.
No, it's good.
Okay. I would make a motion to refill the position of residential appraiser 2 at our earliest opportunity.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the refilling the Fraser 2 position and if necessary, grade 1. All in favor?
Aye.
All three, please sign.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thanks, Anna. Next, commissioners, it is time for John Ellerman.
Good morning, Commission. John Ellerman, Public Works. I have in front of you today is request to move some park funding. This is the $60,000 allocation that we use to disperse between the smaller city parks and the University Park and Zingdale Park. In November, they had their annual meeting where they get together and divvy up, present projects and then help and then split that funding up between them. As last year, we did this similar thing where Ogden and Leonardville are looking to put in restroom facilities and trying to save some monies to do that. University of Park was looking at some basketball, sport type stuff, pickleball, tennis, all in one type of surface. I think this 14,000 will get moved to CIP, but they are about ready to. They have raised enough funding to do the project with this extra money. So
they've done it over a couple of years. We've kind of deposited.
Yeah, it was just kind of we're calling it CIP. It's a little, but just a savings account for them to take the money out of the public works budget into those savings areas so they can build up some funds to help.
Randolph did the same thing a few years ago.
Yeah.
That's why before you were here, but
Yeah, they
Randolph did the same thing, taking money 2 or 3 years in a row.
and that and the other funding that they raise are through the cities and whatever that, so they can do a bigger project. So they're requesting to move Leonardville 14,700, Ogden 11,000, and University Park 14,000 into the. Yeah, basically we're calling it a CIP. Just to store and save from them.
What are we doing with the difference? You said there's 60,000 allocated.
They've already are allocated for the other parts.
This next page, it shows
Oh,
the other ones
I
are a payment this year.
And
This is the one
they'll
that's saved.
do their project and present receipts and stuff for us to pay. How that normally works. I don't know what all.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, that's how they,
Okay, sorry,
that was how.
I didn't catch the allocation sheet there.
Let's say, well, I'd make a motion to approve the 2025 community park allocations as presented and recommended by the Raleigh County Park Advisory Board. And then transfer of $39,700 to CIP for future larger projects.
I'll second.
And moved and seconded to approve the 2025 community park allocation that's presented and recommended by the Raleigh County Park Advisory Board. Transfer 39,700 to CIP for future projects. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good. Caught back up. Almost time for David Adams.
30 seconds, I think.
I know. I don't know how that happened.
Go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. David Adams, CMS Director with my monthly update. I'm a couple weeks behind. We had a holiday and then you guys are busy trying to get things caught back up. So better late than never, they say. So December of 2024, we had 442 calls for service, which is about typical for us. the breakdown of the stations, nothing at all out of the ordinary here. So 143 out of headquarters, 125 out of Station 2, which is at City Hall. The TCB Public Works Station had 69, while there were 66 out at the airport. And then Leonardville had 28. So, we're still have some calls here and there that, where we're seeing some of the recurring patients again. We're back into that, not near as what we were, but that's kind of come back up a little bit. So we're still continuing to work through that. And I always commend my staff. They do a good job with those. And those can get can get tiring, but they do a good job with it. So obviously we had the snowstorm, and I can't thank Manhattan Fire Department. I can't thank Raleigh County Fire District Number 1 enough for their help. With all that snow and such, especially here in town, getting down these streets, we just couldn't get it done. We were carrying patients. We were putting in SUVs and taking out to where we could get to the ambulances. The city with the fire department has 2 trucks that have plows on the front, and they plowed for us. They were out in front of us and such. Fire District Number 1 helped us with out in the county with farmers and such. They had lists of farmers who had tractors who could help us out. So we got the job done and made it a whole lot easier on us. We carried patients for distances and such. So, but shout out to my staff, but also to, like I said, to these other entities, and RCPD certainly was in there as well, everybody pitched in to help everybody get this done and as quickly and as safely as possible. So, but I learned some new things. And in my 33 years, there were still things.
We all did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There were things that I knew I'll never see it all. But that was new. So, our new hires, full-time and part-time, are in orientation. Our last full-timer we just hired here last week, so she'll start next Thursday, I believe. So, working on building construction related topics. Most of the glass is in at the headquarters station. A lot of the painting is done on the admin side, and they've been in there hanging wiring for speakers and such all week. So I'm sure I'll stop in tomorrow afternoon and take a peek and see kind of where we're at. But they're moving right along.
You're wading through mud.
What's that?
You'll be wading through mud if you don't.
I know. I'll make sure I'll bring a pair of boots. So, but they wanted the snow to get melted so they can start working on concrete outside. So I'm sure we're gonna hear about how the mud and how that's gonna slow them down. But I'll keep on Sheldon and his team to keep moving forward. So, but we're looking forward to seeing the outside, some of the steel that goes up on that outside. It's really gonna change the color and break up that. So I thought it was supposed to be started this week. It hasn't started yet, but I'm sure they're getting close. So Alex and Josh continue the quality improvement safety course. It's bringing back work for me to do, which I always appreciate. They take a class and I get work. So, but they do good work with it. They're learning a lot. Continue to participate in the working groups best we can. Hands only CPR, I need to take that off. I think Josh has kind of paused that and is going to change it a little bit because kind of run out of participants. So
that could be one when you start back up.
You and I think Elizabeth too, right?
Yeah.
I'm not throwing you under the bus.
No,
You're
not
right
at
there.
all.
So
Yeah.
A couple months ago, I talked to you about there's some changes from the Drug Enforcement Administration and that we needed to look at, and it doesn't affect us. It's me watching multiple videos and being part of different webinars and such to find out that it doesn't affect our department. So, those are 4 or 5 hours I'll never get back, but we got through it. So staff rotation, every few years, we kind of have to look at our staffing on our shifts. We'll be top heavy with a lot of experience on one shift and another shift because of turnover and such, maybe not as experienced. And we're kind of getting there. And I think Josh and the captains are going to start looking at that, is if we need to move some people around to kind of even things out so that we're consistent across our shifts. Because you don't want all experience on one shift and then rookies on another, so, but you also have to take into account personalities. And especially when you're in a station for 24 hours with one person, I somebody who can attest what personality matters, so. I paused our supervisor book study for the last couple of years. We're starting that back up. I was going to tell you the name of it. The books are in my truck, but I'm excited for it. But I'm looking forward to it. They'll get their books the first Tuesday of next month. So, and we'll start that up again. So I think it's valuable, and I'm the director. So.
You justify it better than that.
Is that a mic drop?
I have a whole lot of fun with that with the comments. They're like, do we get a vote? Do we get a vote? No.
I'd love to hear what they're saying on the other end.
They're finished. They finished up inventory, and that's always a moving target with 5 different stations and 7 different ambulances that are staffed or equipped and stuff. But Josh and his team, they get through it, and every year they get a little quicker, kind of clean it up a little bit and such. So event standbys, we had 12, 10 for basketball, men's and women's, and then we've had some indoor track events. We have another one again this weekend, actually. So, but that's a 1-person standby for there, and they have some equipment in there with them, but but those have kicked up right now. So there's always something. So really, not a lot has changed on the education side. It still does the 100% review. We still work on the protocol development. We did do training the last 3 days with Manhattan Fire Department. They did some handoff training, if you will, for handing off patients from like a structure fire, from fire to EMS. And you would think that's pretty simple, but there's a lot more to it than you might think. So all 3 shifts participated in those. So, and then the 2025 training plan Alex has put that out to our staff and kind of laid out the programs for this year and when they can expect to sign up for classes. Community outreach, car seat check lanes, that's what I think we've got going on right now. That'll start picking up here again in, April or May. So I think we did have, I recall an email here from a daycare wanting us to come out and talk to their kids as soon as the weather kind of warms up a little bit, the kids can be outside. So.
David, you're going to keep on that program, the car seat check program, your EMS is going to stay participating in that?
Yes. Yeah, as far as I know, I don't see a reason why we wouldn't, but I know there's some changes going on with that. We're gonna wait and see how that fleshes out, but if there's a need and we'll be involved.
Yeah, I know Diane's staff felt there is definitely a need and your team is good at it.
Yep, so absolutely. Breakdown, as I said, of the call volume, nothing really stood out to me. At the end, Tuesday, 92, that's a lot of calls. Usually it's Wednesdays, yeah. I've got nothing.
Usually there's kind of a pattern that the weekends and Mondays are.
Yep.
Tuesday.
Yeah, that one.
I noticed that.
That one, I really wish I could give you something, but I don't know. But I don't know if it had anything to do with the holidays, one way or the other, but.
So is that New Year's? No.
So.
Yeah.
New Year's Eve?
Yeah, actually it was.
Oh,
Yeah. New Year's Eve.
There you go.
New Year's Eve and then, so if you have.
And New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve was January though, so. Yeah.
It was, and the snowstorm, we had a few extra calls, not a huge amount, above and beyond, but it was just the time it took to run those calls, was doubled and tripled. Because it would take them, time to get to the house and then to get to the patients wherever they were located and then to get out and then the driving. So I've never shoveled so much snow in my life. It was incredible. But that really was the big thing, was just the length of time that they were tied up on these calls. So. And then call by hour, you could tell, you can always tell when the younger crowd in the community are not here. So our crews are are not as busy after about 10 p.m. until, you know, it picks up about 3 o'clock, you know, so, and then kind of drops off again till 9 o'clock when people get up and are moving around. So it's, you can set your watch by it. So, and this time next month, that'll change. You'll see that uptick, so. And then, top 5 reasons, you know, sick person, since it's such a generic term, always stays number 1, but falls moved up was number 2.
Yeah, for sure.
You almost had the
Is there gonna
next
be a
one
ladder
there.
incident reported next month?
Well, I was wondering, talk about the CPR class. I wonder if John Ellman had a ladder safety class.
Oh, I apparently.
I'm on them all the time. Apparently it's how you use them at home.
I do recall that now, yeah. Stay out of that. So, and then the breakdown is just some of the construction, so over the last 4 weeks, so. But like I said, they're moving along. I'm waiting for, when I talked about the steel, I can find an outside picture. Of course not. I'm talking about
I
the,
had a picture of the front.
the front, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm talking about, you know, here, above here, you know, and then around to the sides and then here on the west side. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about looking to see what those colors, when that steel goes up there, that's gonna just change that whole dynamic, so. But I think we've got the signage figured out. Thank you to Vivian for being there to help us with that and to meet all the criteria for the county logo and such, but where it'll look good and you can see it, so appreciated her help there because, you know, it was above my pay grade. So, but I'll stand for any questions.
I was looking one down, I'm sure it shows all the metal slats going up where all the panels are going.
Yeah.
And the last one, there you go.
Oh, yes, here, yep, there you go. That's what I was looking for. But they've got, I think they're about done with that. I haven't seen much work going on there anymore. So now they're just, and I believe the panels shipped last week was, if I recall correctly, that they were coming from, you know, Illinois or Wisconsin or someplace. So, so that should be any day. But yeah, most of the windows are in, I believe. So, and then they've got the windows in at the main entrance on the admin side, and that looks sharp. It really does. They really changed that. It looks really, really sharp. So. But June 22nd, everybody's getting closer. Now it's really starting to pick up for myself and for Josh a little bit as we start to purchase these items that we, you know, 4 months ago, we picked out, decided what we needed. Now it's time to start purchasing those to make sure that they're here on time to meet the schedule that they've given us to say, you know, we want this here on this date. So, so now that's really starting to pick up. We're going to Salina to the furniture people to look at some of their stuff for desks and things on the inside. And but Josh and Alex and I and the captains, and I believe, are all going over there to see their showroom and pick out those desks and such for offices. So, but yeah, it's starting to, now it's going to start to get busy and getting ready for that move. So my staff are excited to want to know when we can start moving in, and you know, so I told them they'll have the opportunity to hear before they know it. So. Any questions?
Thanks, David.
All right, thank you.
Have a good weekend.
You too, as well.
Anything else? Anybody?
I've got 2 items. So, I'm making plans on going to County Government Day next Thursday. Want to see if we maybe can I'd still like to be here and then just go to Topeka. I mean, it's like 8 to 2. I don't have to be there for the entire thing, but maybe we can try to condense our agenda for the day
What day is that?
next Thursday, 6th.
Let's see how much is on there. Not too much on there.
Yeah.
Last item is 10:15 right now. That's right. Just take them off.
Sounds better to get rid of him.
At this point, yeah.
It's just staff updates at this time, commissioners. See,
We should be able to get them.
do you want, the question is though, because we will have other things submitted in between now and then, do you just want to leave it at that, or do you want to continue to take items?
When you want to leave.
I probably after maybe the business meeting, but if we could just leave it as is at this point in time and be okay. There's all staff updates it. Yeah, I'll probably just stick around for the business meeting part of it and probably just take off at like 9.
Oh, we could have some staff updates.
Yeah, there's several on the agenda already.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all it is. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and register for that. Just make plans of leaving at 9 a.m. Second one, and I've mentioned this one to Rich already. I think maybe they're already working on it, but I think we need to get an administrative work session in place to talk about and discuss our federal funds, grants and loans, just so we know where we're at. The federal moratorium that just came down, I know it's on hold until Monday, but there's going to be some substantial movement one way or the other. We just need to get out in front of it, I think.
Commissioners, we do have a presentation to you on Monday between Brittany and Megan. Just kind of letting you know what we went through when we had the pause and then the rescinding, and then Brittany has a list of the programs that would be affected by such. It's not a work session, but just kind of the information.
Well, call, I mean, to me, it's a.
I mean, we have it on the schedule for Monday to present that information of what we know to this point to you.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. so-
Yeah, no, it's okay. I mean, it just got submitted. It's probably haven't seen it. She just got it submitted this morning, but Brittany,
Oh,
Megan, Rich and I are working on it.
It just came up because of Monday's action, and of course, it's been withdrawn, but we already went to great lengths to kind of assess one situation in one department, community corrections. And so we just want to kind of give it as an example to the commissioners on what potentially could happen and decisions you guys would have to make if you wanted to continue it or not. But she's going farther than that and getting a complete list of everything that could be in jeopardy by any action that might be taken. So the commission's aware.
I've just learned through COVID and other things that if you can get out in front of it, get out in front of it.
There's 2 cases out on this too. There's one, I think, in was it Delaware, that I think the judge is more apt to like lock it for a considerable amount of time, whereas on Monday hearing, that one is much more brief, and that's in DC.
Yeah.
I checked the case filings this morning. Not a whole lot of movement. There's been some other interpleaders, basically people joining in on it, but nothing really outside of that.
It's gonna be hard because we rescinded men 12 to men 13. And so
Right. Well,
find something different.
I mean, it could be a mute issue. They could also argue colorfully some other points that they need to clarify at this point of the law regardless.
The only one I'm aware of is that if it's individual grant or loans that go to the individual, that's off the table, but everything else is pretty vague. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not the legal scholar here and, but.
It's gonna be tied to court for all this stuff.
That's my
I don't,
anticipation.
I think they'll just move the needle in a different direction is all. That's what's gonna happen. So, well, fine, we won't do this, but we'll do this.
I did speak briefly to Barry, Jacob, and Bryant, who all indicated they thought it would maybe quickly go to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's gonna happen too.
That would give us some direction. But yeah, so Brittany talked with Diane. It's not like we know any of the exact things, but Brittany's been coordinating with Diane and Megan and all of the kind of the sources. And so we can bring that information of what we've researched to you on Monday. It's on the agenda.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds good. I didn't see it on the tentative agenda.
Well,
so
she
that's
just
why
submitted it right.
I
before we
understand.
walked over here, so you wouldn't have seen it. Just for that.
I wouldn't have mentioned it if I saw it. on
Yeah,
this.
no, I've.
Okay, that's all I have. I stirred the pot enough.
Okay, well, I would make a motion to.
The chairman.
Mm.
Just one thing on our discussion. I'm glad Diane stuck around and Elizabeth on the health department. Just want the commissioners to know that when we bring something like this to you, we want you guys to have faith that we've thought it out. And we're thinking of the best interest of the organization, not the clerk's office, not the health departments. And I think one thing that would help Commissioner Ford, you're at ease, and maybe yours, Commissioner McKinley, on, why in the clerk's office, Diane, without me, and I don't think Elizabeth present, her supervisors who run these individual programs say, yeah, that's best.
Can I make a comment?
And so I just want you guys to know that's what we went through. It's not just the administration, but that the supervisors that run the programs, you're saying it's health department monies, they're responsible, they are responsible, but those that are responsible for those programs would prefer it's this way as well.
Well, I don't assume anything comes in here as off the cuff. I assume you guys work on it.
I'd like to make a comment on that. I mean, it'd be nice to be kind of part of that process as it's being talked about and decided. So it's not just, this is what we're going to do. This is what we need to do. So, I know you can't talk to us all at once, or maybe you can do that and do an executive session or something because it's personnel related, but now I felt a little sideswiped on that one.
I talked to each of you individually ahead of time, John, so I would differ with that. And I talked to you twice about it, but this governing body has to do things in the open. That way, if John is told something different than Greg in an individual meeting, that's why we handle public business.
I wasn't aware that you were making a change from one department to the other.
John, I
just said you were changing the position.
In individual sessions. Is that not the message I brought to you? It's the same message I brought to you the first time.
That's not how I perceived it.
So I think that concern, and we've heard that before, like we've talked about new positions and just different things. And I would like to work on how to do that better.
Yeah.
We do, it's not, I mean, Richard.
You also gotta understand, we all have other things going on in our other lives, so maybe I didn't connect to it exactly or something, but
Well, I mean,
you guys meet all the time and talk all the time about stuff, and we're not always privy to those conversations up front.
Right.
And I'm just gonna be blunt about it.
Well, I think we think it's our job to like work through all the details, think of all the options, present you the best scenarios. So we're not trying to bog you down with every detail, but where that spot is of how we can, I think I'd like to hear. That's not just your individual concern. We've talked about that in other areas. I just am not sure exactly how to bridge that gap. So we need to talk about that more. Because it's not ever intentional. Our thought is work throughout all the traps, work out all the details, come with a proposal, but how do we get you involved in that conversation? Yeah.
I would make a motion to adjourn the January 30th meeting of the Board of Raleigh County Commissioners.
Second.
They're moved and seconded to adjourn the January 30th Raleigh County Commissioners meeting. All in favor?
Aye.